Alright guys, how's it going? Today we're going to talk about bass. So you may have been asked by one of us to write a bass line or to look at your bass line, and so this video is designed to help you to understand what a bass line is, what they're for, how they work, and everything you'd want to know about bass players. So bass is the low part of the harmony, and a bass line is kind of the bit that cements, well, it's the kind of like the groundwork that all the chords are built on top, and it's really important to have a really proper, good sounding bass that follows the chords in a normal way. First thing to point out is that a bass usually plays one note at a time. All right, so that's not always the case, and it can play two notes at once. But we see a lot of people trying to play, we go and say to them, oh, write a bass line, and they come back with chords. Basses don't play chords. Basses, and this is the key number one rule for writing a bass line, basses need space. The bass needs space, okay? So because of the way, the physics of how sound works, bass waves are big, and therefore if you play notes that are close together with a bass, so even like if I play a C and an E together, so that would be perfectly fine if I was playing it on a piano to play C, if I was playing a piano C and E, perfect, no problem at all. But if I play on a bass and I play C and E together, there's a lot of mud there, it doesn't quite work. Basses need space, and so I would stick to octaves and fifths if you want to play it safe. All right. And then there are some examples where you might use a seventh later on, but we'll talk about that, and that's it just adds a little bit of tension. But basses need space. I try to avoid thirds unless you go up to the register, but usually, and when I say register, I mean sort of up here. You could get away with a third there, C to an E, for example. But down here, C, G, and an octave, so that's another C. Now, one thing to point out is that you might have to take your keyboard octave down on the actual physical MIDI keyboard to push the octave button lower, because you want to be nice and low down with those low sort of frequencies there. Notice that I'm on octave 1 here on BandLab, and also I've taken my, if you could see my MIDI keyboard, you'll see it's gone down an octave. Now I've got a little funky drum beat here, and I've put a chord progression down of C for a bar, A minor, F, and then G. It sounds like this. And so the obvious thing is to start off with. We'll start off with the most basic thing you can do is to play the root notes. The root notes of a C chord is a C. The root note of an A minor chord is an A. Root note of an F chord is an F. Root chord of a G chord is a G. So I'm going to start off by just playing that. Here we go. C, A, F, a little early, and then G. Okay, let's have a look at that. And so if we'll bring that up, here it is, and I'm going to quantize that to 8 notes. There we are. Cool. So there's my root note. The bass note in a chord should be the lowest note in that chord. If it's a C chord, the bass note is a C. If it's an F sharp chord, the bass note is an F sharp. Okay, it's not rocket science. The bass, keep it simple and keep it spaced out. So this sounds perfectly fine. Sounds good. Now the next step, okay, let's add some passing notes. So if you notice, we're going from C, and I'm just going to do this on the keyboard for you. I'm playing C, and we're getting the next destination note is for the second bar. We're going to A. There's a note in between. There's actually two notes in between. Okay, so why don't we use a passing note and go through B? So if we're going from C to A, let's go through B. C, B, A, or A, B, C. All right. So. And a passing note shouldn't take very long, so I'm going to put it I'm going to put it on the and of 4. So if I double click, it brings that in there. That's cool. And then when we're going from So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, boom, 2, 3. We're going to destination is F, so why don't we go through G? So we're going to go boom. And then we're going to go up to G, that's our last destination chord. And so we're actually going to use a note that's outside of the key. If we're in the key of C, and we are, we're going to use F sharp to go through it. And it's okay to use those notes that create tension. It's okay to use those notes as long as there's a purpose for it. And the purpose for it is to walk up to G. So let's program that in, so you can see it in action. So we step from A, we've gone from C to A by going into through B, and now we're in A, and we're going to F, and we're going to go through G, and then here we're going from F to G, so we're going to go through F sharp, and it will sound a little bit funky and a little bit interesting because it's a note that isn't in the key of C major. It's a black key, and there are no black keys in the key of C major. But because there's a really clear purpose for it, don't be afraid of trying it, okay? So let's hear how this sounds. I like it. It works really, really nicely. It's starting to sound a bit more interesting, isn't it? But these long-held notes might be appropriate for part of the song, maybe a breakdown bit, but actually we want to do a little bit more, and this is where we need to remember that bass needs space. Okay, now I can hear this sort of dum ba da da kind of thing, and that's a fifth. Okay, remember we're not going to use thirds. I mean, it would sound. We'll try it with third just to see how it sounds, and a lot of the time, some of the things I say that won't work will work, and sometimes they won't. But here we go. Let's go. So a fifth. If we're going to stick to octaves and fifths, we've got C, we've got G, and we've got C on the top there. Okay. So that's what I'm hearing. So let's try and figure out what that is. Yeah, and then up to G, and then it's a kind of short C. I'm going to copy this one, put it there, and then one there. Oh, little there, and then let's take that idea. Now fifths will always stay the same, no matter they're the same amount of distance away from each other. So I can copy and paste this. It's still on C, and I can take it down to A, and that's going to be a fifth still. And I can now remember this is on F. I can copy and paste that one there. And I'm leaving the transition notes, the passing notes that we had, and then oops, sorry, I did that wrong. Let's just, in fact, let's take that one, copy paste. There we are. Okay, and we don't have a passing note to return to C on the end of the loop. So what could we use? Well, in the chord of if we're on a G chord and we're going trying to get to C, we've got this B in there, which will pull into C. So I might use that. Let's program that in. That might work nicely. So that's on the end of. Yeah, perfect. Good. All right. So now we've got a bit more motion here. Let's have a listen. Sounds good. It's still there's still some things we can do. Let's just see about using an octave. Let's just take that up an octave. To go up an octave very quickly, oh sorry, I've lost us there. To go up an octave very quickly, I'm going to highlight it, hold shift and push the up arrow. Okay, maybe I'll hold it and extend it. I know it's a passing note. Oh, it's not a passing note, sorry. And I might hold that. detail here. So this C, why don't we put a little sort of grace note in between before it. So if I put in another note there like that, and it's like an equivalent of sort of sliding up to a note. And so a way to do that is to just put a tiny little note. I've zoomed in quite far here. Oops, sorry. Sounds like this. That sounds quite like a real player would play that. That might be something, those kind of decorations that you might want to do. And it's almost like we've got a riff here, and bass riffs sound really, really good. You know, if you think of the famous kind of that's a bass riff. It should be played. Bass riffs can work really, really nicely. Something to consider when making something. But generally, the rules of thumb are: basses need space. Use things, use notes like that are far away from each other, like fifths and octaves, because they're obviously part of the chord. Have passing notes. Another thing we can do here is have just something I would just point out that you'll see a lot of in pop music. Might be something like this, kind of plodding along like that. Let's just show you what that means. And so if I just quantize those, maybe even lengthen them out. Sorry, let's do it like that. Let's take that one, might delete that one. I played a note at the very start. Let's get rid of it. There we are. And if I lengthen them out a bit, I won't be able to. I'll have to do it like this, like that. Something. And that kind of mimics a bassist plucking with their fingers in a kind of grooving rhythm. That works. But I really like some of the ideas in this one here about keeping space, leaving gaps as well, little bits of silence and rests. That can be really, really funky. If it's a ballad, that might not be the thing you're after. But if you're doing a rock song or or something heavy metal, for example, the bass playing the same riffs as the guitar but an octave lower will be really, really effective. So to give that some thought. But basses need space. Fifths and octaves work really nicely. Considering little slides and passing notes are going to make for a really nice bass line. Stay down the bottom, and remember, they can't play chords. Good luck.